Good morning, friends. This is Meg at Chasing Retro. I wanted to show you my favorite books for junk journaling that are not children's books. I do use, honestly, mainly children's books when I pick pages and make ephemera. I just love the illustrations that are in them and the colors and the whimsical nature of them. But obviously, I do have some non-children's books in my collection, so I wanted to show you a few of my favorite go-tos that I always have to keep on my shelf and explain what I use them for and give you the information about each in case you would like to look for them in your used bookstore, thrift store, eBay, whatever. The first type of book that I always like to have on hand, and this is one of many available in many different genres, but a good classic vintage cookbook with little to no pictures. So that kind of seems counterintuitive because I love colored pictures so much, but sometimes you need paper that is a good base for a pocket or a tag. And cookbooks like this that have a really, really nice print. I just love the fonts in here. This is from the 1960s, I believe. I'll show you in a second. But I use pages like this that are clean, have nice text on them, maybe a little bit of vintage patina around the edges, but I do like to use these for pockets. Now, you have to be careful because some books, paper gets brittle with sitting and with age. Maybe they've been stored in a hot attic. So there are some books where you can fold them and the paper will crack and immediately separate. You don't want to use those for pockets unless you're going to glue it down to cardstock as sort of a substrate underneath. This one in particular has wonderfully smooth pages that fold really well. You can always, if you're looking at the books in a public place like a store, you can just simply gently fold down the corner of a page to see what the folding looks like. Unfold it again. If this little triangle breaks off in your hand, you know that's probably not the book for you if you want to make pockets out of it. But this particular pocket is made from 3 pages. One has been folded this way, one has been folded this way like that, but then each corner flipped down to the center to create a diagonal, and then one has been folded twice. And after the second fold, I sort of cupped the bottom of the whole thing and sewed as I went to create pockets. Also, this top one is a hidden pocket. So this can be glued down if you just want to do a one-sided version, or in this case, I intended these to be floating pockets. So I will stuff these with ephemera and clip these into a book or a journal. So this particular book is a series, I believe, of sort of most loved recipes by Southern Living, and I have the salads version, and it was published in 1958. They have a lot of them. This is, like I said, the salads one. They have a desserts one. They have a soups, I think, soups and sandwiches maybe. Look at this. It's even got some splashed balsamic vinegar or something on the edges, but that does not mind. I don't mind that one bit. Now there are pictures in here, but they're not very pretty, so I probably would not use this page unless I was folding it inward. But these are just good pages to have as collage fodder, pockets and tags, stuff like that. They're usually very cheap too. The second type of books that I always like to have on hand are gardening books. So though I don't really do botanical journals per se, I do use flowers and decorate with flowers in almost all of my journals that I do. This one in particular was one of the very first books that I ever got for junk journaling, and I believe this was a discarded library book. It might have been a thrift store find because there's no pockets inside for a library card, but regardless, I live near a few universities, so I am always sort of inquiring about when they are discarding books at the university libraries, because these types of books are generally very easy to find, especially if it's an agricultural college of some sort. This one I found out later was actually published in Australia, So a lot of the flowers in here and a lot of the gardening tips are not really applicable to most of the climates in the US, at least part of the year. So, oh, it says London. I could have sworn it was Australia. Well, yes, it's London. So 1963, Francis Perry and Paul Hamlin Limited, if you want to look for this. Let me show you why I love this book. The pages don't fold really great at all. They are some of the brittle ones that I just described in talking about the cookbook. However, what I love about this book is it has large amounts of blocked text with a colored background. These are great for bases or backgrounds for cards and tags and pockets that I want to decorate. So sometimes I will glue this down onto cardstock, maybe the whole piece. I'll cut it in half and I'll make a tag out of this one and a tag out of this one. And on top of here, you can layer fussy cut flowers. You can put sewing pattern ladies. You can put children's images. It's a very beautiful background, and it's not just a plain text. There's several different colors in here. There's yellow. There's this lovely light Kelly green. There's a baby blue. I think there's an orange. There's a little bit of brown. There's some purple. There's some orange. I use this a lot in my 60s and 70s journals because of the colors. Another great thing about this book is the chapter titles. They have this really cool, unique style of art. You can see there. There's one in here that I'm hoarding that I don't want to get rid of about roses. Let me see if I can find it. Look at that beautiful Rock Gardens title. So those can be made into tags as well, or cards or pockets. They're somewhat large, but so yeah, there's lots. Oh, here's the roses chapter. Let me show you look how beautiful this is. Don't you just love that style of art? Love it. And then the colors themselves are sort of a hand-tinted photography that was popular back then. They're usually very, very vivid. Some of them are black and white. That's fine. I've used these and layered them on top of bright cardstock as a little frame. You can do that. But I mean, telling you, the background is just, the color images in these are just so lovely. Absolutely gorgeous. And it's a very big book. I have had this for probably 4.5 years and maybe 3.5. I started junk journaling in 2021, so it looks like I've hardly taken anything out of it, but I feel like I grab stuff out of it all the time. So this one is called Gardening in Color with a UR, and it says Paul and Hamlin. Another gardening book. I actually just received this in Happy Mail from Maureen. Thank you, Maureen, for this. I did not have this one yet, so I was very excited to receive it. But look for books that are sort of field guides like this with botanical images that are hand-drawn. The best kind are books like this where there are images on one side and text on the other, so you do not have to feel guilty about cutting something out and losing part of an image on the back. If I wanted to, I could take all of these pages out and cut all of these out and just put them in a big box, and I would have enough fussy cut flowers to last for a couple of years. There's just so much in here. And I have not checked the price on this one, but I bet it is very inexpensive as well. It is not that old. Let's see. The price was $4.95 new, so you can tell kind of it was maybe, okay, 1987. It's older than I thought it was. By Roger Torrey Peterson, and it's published by Peterson, obviously. So yeah, this is a great book, these types of botanical guides to have in your collection. Here's another one. This one was a little bit harder to find. I had been seeing other makers pick this book up, and I wanted it really badly, but I did not want to pay the price that I saw that day when I first looked it up. So I put an eBay search on it. I put in his name and I put in the title, and within a month or so, one of them popped up that was a really great price, and I snagged it. So this is Lewis Lynn's Eastern North America's Wildflowers, published by Dutton, and the date is 1978 by Ruth Hearn Lynn. Okay, there's two different lens, but maybe they're married, I don't know. But the front of it's not very exciting. It would just be sort of bases for cards and tags and pockets like I showed you with the recipe book. But if you skip to the middle, you start getting into the glossy pages with the hand-drawn flowers. And I love them. I love how this illustrator draws. It's not quite as detailed as some of the other botanicals, which I kind of prefer. I don't like so much lines that it sort of detracts from the simplicity of the flower. These are a lot more simple, and for some reason they just look more 70s to me. So this is one of my favorite books to pull images out of. If you want to search for this one, this would be a great addition to your botanical book collection. And then we've got some more flower families in the back. The next group of books that I love to pull from, and this is not just for sewing journals, this is for all journals. I love putting sewing pages in. So the first one I'm going to show you is actually a binder, and I've taken the inserts out because I'm using the binder itself to make a journal for my personal use. I'll show it to you in a second. This is the Complete Family Sewing Book by Curtin Publications, Inc., 1972. This was one of the things that you would, in fact, here's a little ad right here. You would basically purchase a beginner set with the binder and then opt into monthly installments, and they would send them to you. Here's what it looks like. And then they also had other versions. There's a cookbook. They would send you more inserts and tabs as the year went along. I'm not sure how long the subscription lasted. But this was a complete version that I found on eBay, and it has the most retro groovy pictures in it. I love this book. I love the outside too, and I'll show you in a second what it looks like. It's just so retro, and every chapter or numerical category has a different print color. So this one's blue, and this one's brown, and this one's green. And there's just so many fun little pictures in here. They are also, I believe they're also folded. No, they're not. I think they originally were, but the owner had torn them apart. So sometimes if you get one that's intact, these are still connected. But they do have holes. That bothers you. You may not want this book, but these are great just to fold and put into a journal as a page, or you can cut them apart and use them to make cards and tags. Each divider is a glossy card that has a full color picture on it. Let me show you a couple more of those. Look at this image. That looks a lot like my mama's sewing basket, so I'm gonna have to use this in my journal. And look at this little house. That would be cute for the Houses and Homes journal. Maybe I will put that in my Houses and Homes folder because it's right behind me. And then we've got these groovy ladies with all the fringe on their clothing. Just super cute all throughout, just adorable. You can get these relatively inexpensively. They're in various degrees of use and condition. The one that I found, I was so lucky. Except for the corner scuffing, it looks brand new. And it did have some dirt and some scuffing, but I was able to clean it up with the magic eraser and baby wipes, which is my favorite way to clean vintage books. And so here it is on the side. There's the Curtin Publications. And then inside, I've got all my sewing journal stuff sitting here. It's got this little chart. It's gonna be really hard to cover this up, but I think I'm gonna put like a rounded pocket here, so I'll only cover up part of this. And then on the back is super cute too, which doesn't always happen. And on the back we've got more clothing outlines and what they're called. But yes, super adorable, super bright. Once this is finished, this will look spectacular on my shelf of completed journals. I plan to embellish it heavily and have tassels and pom-poms and all kinds of 70s things hanging out of it. But gosh, it's worth it just for the price to get these unbelievable inserts as pages to use in your crafting. Another sewing book I wanted to show you, and I would love to make this into a junk journal cover one day, though it is extremely large. In fact, let me see how big it is. I think it's over 12 inches. No, it's 11 and a half. 11 and a half by 8 3/4. This is published by the Golden Press. So don't see this one and think it's the same thing that I just showed you. They are very similar in the way they look. They're both yellow. They have the groovy shaped sort of whimsical artwork, but this might have been sort of a textbook for home ec. I don't know. It just has that textbook feel to it. This is the revised edition. So let's see what year that would be. Here are the authors. Golden Press. And the year is, oh goodness, please tell me there's a year. Here it is, 1972. The Singer Company. And this one, I like it mostly for the cover, but the inside is pretty cool too. It's got really, really bold colors. A lot of orange. There's some bright green. I feel like there's blue in here too. Yep, there's some blue. There are some colored pictures in the middle with some groovy little pen and ink women on top of the photographs. Just super cool. So these also would make excellent pockets. They're wide enough that you could fold it onto itself and sew it down and make really cool library pockets with these. Or you can cut the images out and use them as decor. Here's sort of a goldenrod yellow. It's even got some home interior patterns and tips and things. So yes, well worth it if you can find this at a good price. And like I said, would this not make a most amazing large junk journal or glue book? I think it would. Another type of book that is sewing, and this one's a good bit older. As you can tell, sewing is my heart's passion, so I have mostly sewing books. This one is called The Complete Book of Sewing by Talbot. I learned about this book from watching Lace Covered Skies. I don't think she makes videos anymore. She might still make journals, I don't know. I'll link her channel below. She is one of the people who taught me the most when I first started junk journaling. She has such an attention to detail and a love of the past. So she told me about this book. Now her cover is much prettier. I think hers was white. When I got mine, it had a book jacket on it that was shredded, so I took it off, and mine was brown. So I will not be using this as a cover because of the color of it, but the inside makes up for it for sure. This one is published, this is Constance Talbot, and it's published by the Greystone Press in New York. And the year is 1943. So right smack dab in the middle of World War II, when women were trying to save money by making their own clothing for themselves, their families, and their children. There are some beautiful images in here. A lot of this technical drawings are in here as well with a single color. But there are images of women in here as also. Look at this organized cabinet. Let me show you that. There's photographs of women, but then there are lovely drawings. Let me find a few examples. Here's one. You really do need to go see what Lace Covered Skies did with this book. She had a couple of sewing themed journals that used this heavily, especially the images like this that were long and narrow and all down one page. She made some really cool side pockets with them. I'm not sure about the foldability. It seems like it folds okay. It feels a little rough, like newsprint, but thicker. So it's not quite as velvety smooth as some of the other books I showed you, but just gorgeous tone on tone illustrations and so much available. In fact, I haven't used this as much as I should, and it was in the back of my cabinet, and when I was sourcing for some journals this weekend, I uncovered it and pulled it out because I was like, I need to be using this more. It's too beautiful to sit in the back of the cabinet. The last book I will show you is not sewing, but it is a book that I feel like every junk journal creator needs to have in their stash. It is a typewriter textbook. I love textbooks in general. If you can find a really cool vintage textbook with beautiful text and velvety smooth pages, get it. I think they are wonderful backgrounds for collages and backgrounds for tags and cards. And it just kind of fuels my love of education in general. That's why I love to grab textbooks. Where else are they going to go but the landfill if we don't save them? Because a lot of the material in them is super antiquated. So here is the typewriter textbook. Now this one is stamped 1946, but the publication date is 1943. These obviously were used in schools all the way into the early 90s when I first started learning how to type. At my high school, we started out on typewriters and we had a textbook from the 70s. They are unique in that they flip up like this because they can sit in front of you at your desk like an easel. You would prop this in front of yourself while you typed. So that's a really unique. So what I'm saying is the pages are just long and narrow and fold very well, usually for a page in a journal. But these have instruction pages at the beginning with photos, and then at the back, it's just all lesson and practices. And a lot of times you'll have lots of different fonts, including typewriter font. And these pages are beautifully vintage, brown, and have this velvety texture that I love. One thing that I have found when I buy these, there's usually a lot of eraser rubber dust in here because of, erasing notes made during class. That doesn't bother me at all though. I don't think I've ever bought one that didn't have that. I have 3 or 4 in my collection now and I consider them a must-have. So this one's called The Typewriting Technique by Harold Smith, but you can find these anywhere. Don't pay antique store prices. Hold out until you find one at a thrift shop because I guarantee you will eventually. I hope this was a great little list of books that you can add to your junk journal library for non-children's books that you can use in your journals for all types of uses. Let me know what else you would like to hear about as far as tips and hints and tricks, and I'll be willing to share if I'm able. And I hope you guys have a lovely day. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.